putting your life on the line. There's not a lot of sports where you can go out there and die.
It's like another world inside of an already crazy world.
If you know you can do it, continue to try to create an opportunity for yourself to prove that.
Born dream ends. Like, how were you doing internally at that point? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Mark your calendar, we're headed down to Brown County on July 26th for Hard Truth Bourbon and Barbecue Festival. Get ready for a smoky, savory, and spirited weekend at Hard Truth in Brown County. Join me at Hard Truth Distilling Co. the weekend of July 25th and 26th for an unforgettable celebration of bourbon, barbecue, and good times. We've got live music rocking from 9 until noon with 4 different acts, bourbon and barbecue tastings and pairings, bourbon blending and cocktail crafting classes, as well as a VIP bourbon and cigar lounge. They also have interactive competitions and outdoor activities, bourbon barrel roll races, barbecue toss and cornhole tournaments, $10 entry for a $300 prize. If you're a good cornhole player, hit me up, let's join up. And they have axe throwing as well. Me and my team are going to be down there, and I will be releasing a full weekend itinerary for Nashville/Brown County that is guaranteed to be a great time. Tickets for the Hard Truth Bourbon and Barbecue Fest start at $10 for general admission. That gets you entry in the festival, the live music, and pay-as-you-go food and drink. For $35, you can get the barbecue sampler pass, tastings from all the barbecue competitors, or for $75, you can get the VIP ticket where you get VIP lounge access, premium bourbon tastings, and a guided distillery tour by master distiller Brian Smith, previous guest of the show. I will see y'all in Brown County the weekend of July 25th and 26th. Now let's get into the episode. Today I'm joined by Conor Daly, a second-generation race car driver from Indiana whose career has taken him from karting victories to the USF Pro 2000 title to competing in the IndyCar Series and NASCAR as well. Son of former F1 and IndyCar competitor Derek Daly, and part of a family deeply connected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Conor embodies the innovative, relentless spirit of Indiana. Today we're going to be talking about the ignition of Conor's racing career, what life in the fast lane looks like, and the business of IndyCar and how that all works. Conor, welcome to Get In.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I am pumped for this one. So all the listeners will know we had Doug on a few months ago, and he talked about the one story that I was like, I have to reach out. He was talking about how on race day you like spend some time or go check out the snake pit as like a pregame ritual sometimes, and I was just like, wow, this is a man from my own heart, right? That's fun.
You know, Doug being my stepdad, you know, thankfully he's he's very aware of everything that goes on at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway because that's his place of work. I love everything about the race, and one of my side things that I enjoy is music. Like I love like the EDM side. Like I love those festivals. That would be cool. I haven't got a chance to go to a ton of them because I'm kind of busy in my life with racing. But yeah, I love everything about the Snake Pit. I've made a lot of friends in the music world too. So a lot of my friends have been able to come and play the Snake Pit. And every time people come and play, they're like, this is the craziest thing we've ever seen, which it is. Like the Snake Pit's insane. Like you have 30,000 people inside of the biggest event in the world, which is, you know, the Indianapolis 500. So yeah, it's been my tradition. Like 9:50-ish in the morning to like 10:10 is kind of my window of operation over in the Snake Pit. And every year I've actually put all the Snake Pit artists on the back of my helmet that I use for the race. So I try to get all of them to sign it before the race. I've never been able to get all of them there to sign it because everyone kind of comes in at different times. Obviously, famous people have schedules that are cooler than ours. So, you know, people fly in helicopters close to when their set times are. So yeah, I've tried to get all the artists to sign it. They seem to kind of enjoy the collaboration, and it's kind of fun to see what their reaction is. But yeah, I love the Snake Pit, and I love the Indy 500, so dude, why not go check it out?
Who's been your favorite artist that's played there?
Well, I only get to see about 20 minutes of the Snake Pit, so and I try to just at least chat with some of the artists before, because like our goal as a series in the Indy 500 is to like make people more aware of IndyCar. Like everyone knows what the Indy 500 is. That's kind of like a general common knowledge in the United States of America, thankfully. But we need to let people know that like we also have like 16 other races that you can watch too. And like our series needs just more general awareness. And a lot of these popular artists, they can, if they go and tell people like, hey, I don't know if you guys have been to an IndyCar race before or know about IndyCar, but it's sweet. That's cool. So if I can kind of generate some sort of, traction for our series, that's my goal. Like it's just try to think marketing. Some of the performances, like it's hard to select one out. Like some of the fire and the activities that are going on there. Like when I got up there with Steve Aoki, like Steve Aoki's energy titan, right? Like that guy is incredible. And I've known Steve for a little while now. that was some of the craziest thing ever. Last year I got up there with Sullivan King, and like that was one of the coolest things ever. Like with just some amazing photographs from that event. But all of the people seem to appreciate the fact that on that day, like they're actually there for our event. You know what I mean? Which is kind of crazy because normally everyone is there for them. But realistically, they're all there for us, which is the one day in the whole year that that's going to happen. But it's pretty cool to kind of be there and just see how people react to it, but also just see how happy everyone is in the crowd.
Oh, dude. And it's like another world inside of an already crazy world. You're just like, and you're like, oh, yeah, that person, they're here for the snake pit. And that person's here for the race. And it just goes back and forth. And I love it. And we're going to get into more of like the business of IndyCar and just traditions of the Indy 500. What I want to dive into first, how does someone get to that point? I feel like a lot of other major sporting events, right? Let's say football, for instance. You go from, you're a really good high school football player, you go to college, you get drafted, maybe you're on the scout team, practice team, and you get to start on Sundays eventually. With racing, it's a little bit different. So where did you get your start?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a school sport. That's the thing. But I always tell people it is very much the same as if you're going to play in the NBA or the NFL, you're probably going to start in elementary school. You're probably going to do the little middle school team, high school. You got to spend all those years. I was doing the same thing with racing. Like when I was 10 years old, I started racing in go-karts. And there are small go-karts, little, 10, 15 horsepower little engines. Whiteland, Indiana is where I started, which is still there. It's a much nicer track now.
Your first race was in Whiteland?
Whiteland, Indiana, yeah. And then Newcastle, the Newcastle Motorsports Park, that was created by Mark Dismore and all the folks out there. That wasn't built yet when I started, but then when it was built, that's one of the greatest tracks in America for go-kart racing. So like, thankfully we have it here in Indiana, which is really nice.
One of the greatest go-kart tracks in the nation is in Newcastle.
Maybe even the world. Yeah.
No, what makes it so great?
It's just the high quality of the circuit, like the facility, the track itself is super nice. Everything about it for go-kart racing is massive and awesome. So I was very lucky to kind of have that. And Joseph Newgard, obviously, very successful driver. He grew up in Tennessee, so there was no real the best go-kart track for him was to come to Newcastle. So both of us started racing at the same spot. And obviously, if two people can come from the same go-kart track, that's probably a pretty good go-kart track to get started racing at. So
for real.
We learned a lot of what we know now starting at Newcastle. So,
man.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're on this track, you're racing go-karts at 10 years old. And how do you know, like, I feel like we're going to keep pulling on the thread of comparing it to like basketball or football, right?
Yeah.
So like if you can dunk when you're in 8th grade or whatever, you're like, okay, this guy is good. But like, hey, you have a professional career in this. Where did those decisions start to unfold at? Like, what age group?
Well, I mean, same with kind of like any other sport. There's probably like a regional level. There's probably a national level, some sort of bigger competitions. Same thing with go-kart racing. And go-kart racing, it sounds like a fun carnival game. It's not. It's actually very professional. Like that's where you start racing. Me and my dad, we had a trailer, we had a little go-kart. We'd show up to the races regionally. If you do well there's a national scene, right? There are people competing kind of from all around the country. And then there's a world level too, where people from all around the world come and compete in go-kart races too. And there are different levels, right? So you go from smaller go-karts, slightly faster go-karts, maybe more senior division. You go from juniors, which is like ages like 10 to 14. And then the senior division is like 15 and up. And so, we kind of go through those levels. If you're following the trajectory to be like a professional racing driver, you really can't spend much more than age 10 to 15 in go-karts. Like when you're 15, you got to be in cars now. You got to move up to the car level. So again, it's like any other sport. We go through the younger levels, go-karting, regionally, nationally, and then it's like, okay, if you're winning at all those levels, it's probably time to try to figure out how you get into a race car.
And where was like the notch on your belt where you're like, man, I have a future here? Like, was there a big win or an accolade that you received?
I always say that I actually wasn't the best go-kart racer. I won a lot of races. I was very, very lucky to, be in, great competition, racing against guys like Joseph Newgarden all the time was, at the time we didn't know, but turns out that was a good person to base yourself against, right? Joseph Newgarden, you had Ricky and Jordan Taylor, who are now professional sports car racers, like at the highest level. You've got guys that, Gabby Chavez was a racer against us. He raced in the Indy 500 multiple times. There are guys that we were in this small group of kids that didn't know where we were going. Turns out everyone ended up being a professional race car driver. So you didn't know at the time, but that you had to beat those folks. And thankfully, I was able to win some, regional championships, some national championships, stuff like that. And there wasn't much else you could win. So, but now I wasn't the most dominated in go-kart racer, like for sure. I don't, and I would say Joseph would agree with this too. Like we weren't probably the highest level of go-kart racers, but sometimes that's how it works. If you get into a car, and then when you get into a car, the field is maybe a little bit more contained to like, these are the guys or girls. Like these are the drivers that kind of made it through go-karts. They got the chance to be in a car. You try to get a scholarship system going. Like there are scholarship systems in racing too. Like if you win this scholarship, the level of car racing is funded for you by like a manufacturer or a series or something like that. So you try to get into those series. And once you're in that, if you can prove yourself at that level, now there is one trajectory. Now that there is like a road to Indy, like there's 4 series where if you can win in those series, you can self-scholarship your way to IndyCar. So if you win, that's the easiest way to do it. Now, not everyone can win, obviously, and there are still people who don't win those championships who make it in our sport, but there is a roadmap. And like NBA, NFL, there is a roadmap, but there's a lot more positions in that roadmap, right? There's 64 college teams that make the NCAA tournament, right? There's 53 players in an NFL roster. There's, several players on an NBA roster. For us, there's 33 spots at the Indy 500. So like that's it. There's no other division. It's a very small group that makes it.
Where's like the most cutthroat? I won't say cutthroat, but like where's like the most selective level? Like, okay, let's say there's 100 kids that come out of the kart series. They make it to get into a car at 15. Where is like they get drafted or you go the other route, undrafted free agent and like work your way up? Like where's the most like selective level at?
There's 3 kind of directions that you could go. Most of us that start like on the road racing go-kart stuff, you either go IndyCar F1. Well, you're trying to go to those 2, right? Those are the goal. And for my goal, it was originally IndyCar. Then I was like, okay, you have one chance to go to Formula 1. So I moved to Europe when I was 18 to race in like the F3 series and the F2 series to try to pursue Formula 1.
By yourself?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much by myself, yeah.
You're 18 years old and you moved to Europe?
Those are my college years, yeah. So my college years were spent racing in Europe and trying to be a Formula 1 driver. And yeah, that's kind of how you have to do it. You only have one chance as you're growing up to pursue that. And so you have to take it.
Was that always the goal? Did you know, like, I want to graduate from Heritage Christian and I want to go to Europe?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, there were no Americans in Formula 1 when I was that age. So I really wanted to be that guy. That would have been awesome. Formula 1 is the highest level for sure. The Indy 500 is the biggest event in the world, but the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, like those are the 3 ball sports that are and in motorsport, it's the same thing. They're all cars, different cars, but those are the professional series where you can all make a living at the highest level of sport, right? And all the athletes that are in the MLB, the NFL, the NBA probably respect all the athletes that are at the highest level of their respective ball sports. Same with racing, right? We all respect what's in Formula 1. The Formula 1 drivers respect what we do, and we respect everyone in NASCAR because that's just motorsport.
Are those kind of like the big 3?
Those are the big 3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go over to Europe. You're racing F3.
Yep.
One, how do you end up getting a team to take a chance on an 18-year-old kid to get behind what I'm assuming is a very expensive car?
Thankfully, I had won all of the championships over here. So in America, the Road to Indy championships, I won all of them on the way up. So thankfully, when we made the step to Indy Lights, which is now Indy NXT, which is the step right below IndyCar, the scholarship system wasn't quite... It's like identified as like, hey, you have to go to IndyCar now. It was kind of like, well, if you win, here's a scholarship, but we can't really force you to go to Indy Lights or Indy NXT. So we were like, look, we want to go to Formula 1. And if we can try to do this, we've only got one shot at doing it. And so that was actually okay at the time. Now the scholarship is basically like, if you're in America, you got to stay in America. If you go to Europe, you have to try to go over there. And we kind of jump ship from America to Europe.
And when you say we, what do you mean by we?
I just always say we because it's a team effort. It's like me and my family that was supporting me and the sponsors that we had at the time, supporters that kind of get around us and help us.
So you're 18, you go to Europe, but family doesn't come with, family stays in America. And you're like hooked up with a team over there and you're driving. Are you like making broke college student money or are you like,
oh no, you're not making any money. There's no money to be made. Yeah. You don't really make money in this sport. Well, it's really hard to make money in general, but and I think people don't really realize that. Everyone sees Indy 500. Oh, you make an Indy 500, you're probably rich. That's not true at all. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever, actually. Never assume ever what people are making. I promise you that. That's the one thing I've learned in sport and life. Never assume that if you're in sport, you're like making money. That's crazy talk. And you never assume actually anything unless you actually know what's going on in the sport, because it's crazy to know.
So you're over there, but it's like you're pursuing the passion. You're young.
Yeah, you're
like,
living the dream. You're trying to be a race car driver. You have to be successful. And when I was in Europe, I had won everything over here. Thankfully, I was very lucky to do that and pursue kind of what I wanted to do. But when I got over to Europe, you're racing against more of the best in the world, right? Guys that I was racing against was the Carlos Sainz Juniors, the Danny Kvyats, the not quite Max Verstappen's. He was a little bit younger than we were, but the guys that are over there now that are successful, those are the people that we were racing against. Valtteri Bottas was the first year. He obviously was very successful in Formula One. Carlos Sainz Jr. is still over there in Formula One, driving for Williams now. Daniel Ricciardo's. That was the kind of the group we were racing with growing up. And, we were successful over there. So I was signed by a Formula One team after my first year over there racing in Formula 3 as kind of like a test and reserve driver for the Sahara Force India Formula One team, which is now Aston Martin, which is where Fernando Alonso is now, and Lance Stroll. So we were doing what we needed to do, but you have to win everything. And I won enough to get to a certain point, and then my year of 2013 was if I had to win the F3 championship to kind of continue, and I got wrecked with one race to go, so I didn't win the championship. So these things happen. We finished third in the championship because we didn't score enough points, but we were leading the championship with one race to go. You get wrecked, your life changes, things alter, so we end up back in America, which is fine.
How old were you at that time in 2013?
I was like 21. I just 2021, I think. Yeah.
You're 21 and you're like on the path, and circumstances happen. Like, is that devastating at the time?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I actually knew, and I told everyone around me, I was like, my European career is over. That's it, because you kind of know, like, if I win the championship, things go a certain direction. You get a little bit more involved in the Formula One team. You go to Formula 2 with a good team, good situation. You're still supported. There's only one person that wins, and the person that won the championship went to Formula One. So and
it's that cutthroat.
That's cutthroat.
Like,
yeah, there's only one person. So,
and they're not just like the team's like, hey man, you could have.
No,
they'll try again next year.
Yeah, it's rough.
So that they boot you out and bring someone else new.
Well, I mean, someone else gets a shot at it. Someone else wins the championship for sure. But it is what it is. I mean, that's how the sport works. I'm very proud to have won over there. To have got, we were on the podium 13 times in 2 years. So, like, definitely proved that we could win and be successful against the best in the world, which is awesome. And I learned a lot about that.
Who was the first American that made it in F1?
Well, I mean, way back in the day, there was more Americans way back in the 50s, 60s. Mario Andretti, Scott Speed was a guy that I grew up knowing.
Scott Speed?
Scott Speed, yeah. So he was in Formula One with Red Bull. Yeah, for sure. And then he went to NASCAR as well, and he's still involved in kind of the Red Bull system over there. But Alexander Rossi was an American in Formula One. Obviously, he's in IndyCar now. He didn't really get the fairest of shots at all in Formula One. He was with the worst team in the sport, but still an American that made it to Formula One. And then obviously Logan Sargent was a kid who was racing in Formula One. Probably, again, not the fairest of shots, but he did score points as an American in Formula One, which is great. We never really get the fairest of shots. They hate Americans over in Formula One, which is kind of a shame. That's a deeper and longer story, but we gave it a shot. We were successful over there. We won races. We have a lot of respect with a lot of those guys in the paddock now, and it's fun to kind of still be friends with a lot of the guys in Formula One because, as you know, Formula One has exploded now, and a lot of those guys are still friends of mine because we grew up elbowing each other and trying to be what we could be, and that's a professional driver.
And it's like it's a career, right? It's like one person makes it, and then you're 21.
Very small group.
You're 21, and your international Formula One dreams are kind of over.
Yep.
Not kind of over. They are over.
Very over, yeah.
and so you come back to the U.S. and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I mean, everyone said, "Oh, you can always come back to America for sure," and that was not really the answer. It was tough to come back to America because there are still a lot of drivers that Joseph Newgarden chose to stay in America, went to IndyCar, and there are not many seats in IndyCar too, and there are a lot of drivers from all over the world that are fighting for those positions. So it took me really 2 years, like 2014 and 15, doing 2014 I didn't do any IndyCar races. I was kind of on the outside looking in, doing a part-time season in Formula 2, racing in Europe, but kind of racing in America, but kind of trying to just do whatever I could do, not making any money, just living on people's couches, just trying to get where I could be, go to all the IndyCar races, drive the two-seater. I was driving the IndyCar two-seater, trying to just be at all the races and be there if I could.
What is driving the two-seater? What does that mean?
Oh, just like there are drivers that are IndyCar drivers that drive the IndyCar two-seater that kind of you're just there, but you're driving guests of sponsors and people around.
So
but
it's
still an
it's
IndyCar.
like a tourist attraction type thing.
Yeah, it's like it's our IndyCar version of a great roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? But they have to have IndyCar drivers or professional drivers to drive it. Like Mario Andretti was driving it. There are special professional racing drivers that are driving it because it's still a race car. But it's something that gives the fans an opportunity or partners in the series an opportunity to experience a little bit about what IndyCar is.
Yeah, and from like an emotional, like internal perspective, like the foreign dream ends.
Yeah.
You're coming back over here. You're trying to find that like identity and get back to being a professional driver and get to the highest level.
Get a job, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how were you doing internally at that point?
It's hard. I mean, I still had this dream, and everyone kept telling me, they're like, "Oh yeah, you can make it, you can make it." And it's like, well, there's opportunities are still hard. You got to fight for it. And I was kind of managing myself and had people that were supporting me. But realistically, to be a professional, you have to be there. I was always at the track. I was doing whatever I could to be there, take advantage of an opportunity. You know, I got into an IndyCar to substitute, you know, for an injured driver like in 2015. And that was like, oh, that was my first shot. And then kind of proved myself a little bit there. Like, okay, I got in, made no mistakes, was really quick in the race. We didn't have a great race. Like we didn't finish well, but there are small things that you can do as a young driver to get the right attention. Don't make mistakes. Don't put the thing in the wall. Be fast at a certain point. Like we did the second fastest lap of the race or something like that. And it doesn't matter if you finished 20th or 18th, but it's like, oh, well, everyone else was in the race and everyone else was doing that, you know, was also doing that. And you were the second fastest lap. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. And so you make certain appearances. You know, I substituted for James Hinchcliffe when he got injured in 2015, finished sixth in my like second race ever. So like, you're okay. Now we're at the front. We're figuring it out. And so getting in at the right time, making a difference with the right opportunities that you had, which is, you know, 2 or 3 races in 2015, got me a chance to be a rookie in 2016. So you do everything you can with the opportunities that you get. And that provides you a chance to compete full time in 2016.
So 2016, you get to be an official rookie.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so what team were you with then?
I was with the Dale Coyne Racing team then, which is obviously still a good team. A lot of young rookies have raced for Dale Coyne Racing. And yeah, I got to work with a great engineer and a great team there. We finished on the podium very early on. We were very fast, passed more cars than anyone else during that year. We got a watch for it. Thank you, Tag Heuer. That was cool. But yeah, it was a great opportunity with a small team, low budget, you know, small operation, made no money. You know, my salary was $0, but I had a chance to race. Yeah.
You're racing the full IndyCar series as a rookie and you're making $0.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually the dumbest thing ever.
Dude, see, that's like what I think people think, like, oh, they're on TV or they're there.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like millions are just coming in, and it's like,
I mean, I made some prize money, like, but I think I fit in the tax bracket of like I made less than $26,000, so I wasn't, you know, it was I made some money, yeah, but realistically, all of your expenses are covered, and I thankfully James Hinchcliffe was letting me live with him for free, so I didn't have any living expenses, and I got a car to drive around from you know the whatever manufacturer you're driving. So like you can live, like it's fine to live, but you're definitely not like buying things and like living a lavish lifestyle.
There's no retirement 401k plan that's getting funded. Okay, yeah. Wow. So 2016, you're a rookie, you're rocking and rolling there. And I mean, obviously there's adversity and things come up there. Like, take us through, I mean, now you're back in the seat full time.
Oh, yeah.
But take us through like these last 8 years, 2016, 8 years. Now it's 2025.
Yeah.
Like kind of the ups and downs of this piece of like accelerating in that career.
You know, it's a long story and I'm not going to bore anyone with it. You know, if you know my career, you know my career, and I've been through, you know, I've done over 100 IndyCar races now, and I've been in the dumbest situations possible, but I've been in some great situations, but I've never really had you know, I've never really been in the best position ever with the best team, a ton of funding behind us and the right stuff. But I've always tried to be there, and I've always tried to give myself an opportunity to compete. I have a podcast as well, the Speed Street podcast. We talk a lot about my career. If you want to check it out, please do. Yeah, I've been through a lot. I've been very lucky to get opportunities that I have. I've also created a lot of opportunities for myself. You know, after my rookie year, I got paid to be a racing driver, but it wasn't the best team, and you have to be in the best team at the right opportunity with the right situation to get the results for yourself. So it's right place, right time, right situation, and you have to do the best you can with what you have. But sometimes if you miss out on the the right opportunity, you may never get it. So for me, I have had to create opportunities for myself with sponsorship, right? And gaining, these partnerships that are, we had the U.S. Air Force as a sponsor for a while that created an opportunity with the Andretti Autosport team, Andretti IndyCar now, and which is, an amazing opportunity. But that was 2 races. But then that got me an opportunity to go, generate a situation with the Ed Carpenter Racing team, which again, wasn't the best situation overall, as people know, for me, but it was a situation that I could be in. It was the only situation that I could be in. But then that, one opportunity creates another, but you have to continue to fight to be in this sport. And that's what I did.
If there's a moment from that so far in the IndyCar career that you're like, I am really proud of that race finish or this thing that you did, like what is that pinnacle moment for you thus far?
I mean, I think it's my very first podium in IndyCar, which was 2016. But then it's my last podium, which was a completely different time in my life, and that was last year. From 2016 to 2024, that's a long period of time, and a lot of people didn't like what I was doing because there were a lot of not great results. But there were a lot of, if you really paid attention, you're like, well, some situations we did lead the Indy 500. We could have won the Indy 500 in 2021. I think we should have won the Indy 500 in 2021. But again, things happen. Things, we hit a tire that flew off another car and damaged our car. So, there are small opportunities that our potential to be successful in this series never goes away because of these small things that are like, if you really paid attention and if you really do look at what's going on, I can do this job. And when I show up and you have no preparation for what the true professionals are doing, and we still finish on the podium at Milwaukee last year. That was the biggest thing, I think, for me. My first podium, the podium was Sebastian Bourdais, Juan Pablo Montoya, 2 of the best drivers in our sport. And, my next podium was Will Power and Pato O'Ward, who are 2 of the best drivers, I think, in our sport right now. So you're up against the best, you're competing with the best. And now that has created an opportunity for me now to, at 33 years old, to have another full-time opportunity with the Juncos Hollinger Racing team, which is a good team, a growing team. Now, again, we're not the best team. We're not right at the very top, but we're growing. And I want to try to create this opportunity for myself to stay here, to help this team grow and to compete at the highest level. So it's a long story. I've had a lot, you can talk about it for a long time. But again, the whole goal and what I always tell people is just, you can't, if you know you can do it, continue to try to create an opportunity for yourself to prove that.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Roots Realty Co., the absolute best real estate team here in Central Indiana. Listen, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you need people who actually care about our Indiana community. That's Tyler and Max over at Roots Realty. These guys aren't just slinging houses, they're building communities, helping people find homes that actually fit their lives and making the whole process way less stressful. They're not some big corporate machine. They're real people who know Indiana inside and out. Whether you're a first-time buyer, an investor looking for your next deal, or just trying to get top dollar for your home, these guys have the expertise and the hustle to make it happen. They're out here doing great work, not just in Indianapolis, but all across Central Indiana and beyond. So if you're in the market, or even if you're thinking about it, hit up Tyler and Max at Roots Realty Co. and they'll take good care of you. Check them out at rootsrealty.co or meet them in person at one of their upcoming investor masterclasses. More details on their website, rootsrealty.co. Let's get back into it. That's incredible. And when you say 33, like when you think of the lifespan of an IndyCar driver at the highest level, like what are the peak years? Or like where does it start to be like, hey, is there a time where you're too old to do this? Well,
Scott Dixon proves that there's no age, right? Like Scott Dixon is late 30s. I don't even know how old Scott Dixon is. I don't think he ever ages. He's like 39, maybe almost 40, 38 years old. Who knows? But Scott Dixon has 6 championships. We look at Will Power, who is also...
Scott Dixon's 44.
Scott Dixon's 44? Exactly. Like,
is he really?
Is he 44 years old? That's crazy.
That's what...
That's what Google says?
Google says, because he's from New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 44 years old.
And he's still winning. So that's 11 years older than me, right? So I think that there's plenty of opportunity if you're in the right situation to do this. I think I'm the fittest that I've ever been now. And there are a lot of young drivers who are doing incredible things right now in IndyCar. But there are also a lot of veterans who have more brain power than the young drivers do right now, right? So there's being a psycho young gun, which pays off, but there's also being an experienced veteran who knows to use that experience and to be able to take advantage of the right opportunities at the right time. So there's really no peak age yet, but there is, eventually you will fall off for sure, because there is a physicality that this sport demands that is so hard to drive these cars physically that you have to stay ahead of. So there's kind of a lot of different things that go into this.
Yeah,
sport.
you say the fittest you've ever been, and I don't think people think about that, right? It's like when you say about like fit, like what are you talking about cardiovascular and weight training and all those kind of things? Like take us through like just a quick dive into the physical aspect that it takes to drive an IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, racing is without a doubt, I think, physically the hardest thing to do in the world right now, IndyCar racing, because what people don't realize is that your heart rate during a road and street event is, my heart rate at least, which I wear a heart rate monitor in the race, is average of 160 to 170, right? That's very high.
You're running a marathon.
Running a marathon for 2.5 to 3 hours and driving a car that has no power steering. So you're try holding two 30-pound dumbbells in your hands and fighting that for 2.5 hours as well. And pulling 3 to 4 Gs to 5 Gs on your core, your shoulders, your body. It's 130, 40 degrees in the car. Okay, now you're sweating out 10 pounds of water weight during the race. Okay, well that's hard too. Shoot. Now you're strapped in. You got blisters on your hands. You're fighting this wheel. The car is 1,600 pounds. You're fighting that. So all of these things, people have no idea. I can't tell you to go outside and do that. I can go outside right now and throw a football and know that I am not going to be a quarterback, right? I can go outside right now and shoot a three-pointer and know that I am not in the NBA, right? But I can't tell you to do that with a car because you would just die on 465. You know what I mean? So that's impossible to do. And I don't recommend trying to be a race car driver on the interstate because that's not safe or smart. But you can go to an indoor go-kart track and you can go to like a place like Speedway Indoor Karting or Fast Times on the north side in Keystone, and you can get in a go-kart that doesn't have power steering. You can get in there and I will go there with you and I will beat you because it's what I do. It's what we do. And then you can physically feel, oh, wow, my forearms hurt after doing 20 minutes of that. Well, that's level 1 of 1,000. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of what I always tell people to do. Go to those indoor go-kart places. Go race against some of the people that do it a lot more than you do there. And you can experience kind of, hey, level 1 of how tough what we do is.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people think that it's just the car.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, the car does all the work. Like,
yeah.
Dude.
It's hard.
I can't even.
It's hard.
I did the. There's a sim at Hunkos, right? And I was, and even just the sim that gives you some pretty good resistance. I'm like, dude, 3 hours, like
you're out there putting your life on the line because what we're doing is also dangerous, right? There's not a lot of sports where you can go out there and die in it. You know what I mean? So like you're kind of like a gladiator of modern day of just like going out there, putting your life on the line, putting your body on the line to, and our cars are very safe nowadays. It's not necessarily like the 80s and the 70s when you were, those guys were true crazy people, but it still is dangerous, but we are prepared to do that because we want to do that and we love what we do.
I want to get into a little bit of the business behind IndyCar. And one thing that I think is interesting, you think you make it there and all of a sudden millions of dollars and every sponsor ever and all of these things. Like where is the moment where you start to like, hit the superstar level? Like where do people get and they're like, oh, we're making good money and you're feeling kind of famous and the celebrity and all those things?
Well, I mean, again, results bring you the fame and the money. You have to win to make money, right? And I have not won an IndyCar race yet. Like I know that. I'm very up to date with that. And so you have to create the opportunity to win though. But there are only certain teams that will give you the opportunity to do that, right? And some of the best teams, Penske only has 3 seats, right? Penske's the top level in our team, right? Or the top team in our sport. Ganassi, probably also the top team in our sport. Only 3 seats there, right? So it's very hard to get those top seats. It's very hard to win in our sport, but winning does create success. But also, if you want to create an opportunity to win, you have to fight to get to those seats, right? And for, the drivers that get there, those guys are making good money. There are some drivers that are making good money, but there are also drivers who aren't, right? But you want to get to a place where you can do that. There are 1,000 different ways to make money in this sport, which is hard. For us that are not quite with the top teams, you got to create it. You got to go out and fight to prove that IndyCar is the business that you want to be in, right? And there are a lot of great sponsors and businesses that realize how good it is to be in this sport and how successful you can be in this sport. But you're also fighting, racing is a show, right? It's entertainment. So what else is also entertainment? The NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NHL. And so how many businesses are in those sports? a lot. So you got to fight with all those businesses. You got to fight to make sure that our business is the most entertaining, to create an opportunity to spend money in this sport. We have the largest attended sporting event in the world, right? The Indy 500. That's awesome. But how can you also sell that to the 16 other races, right? The Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, which is March 2nd. The race in the Grand Prix of Long Beach, which is April 13th, which is one of the coolest events, I think, in motorsport.
What makes it the coolest? One of the coolest events?
It's an event that was a Formula One race. It's an event that my dad did. It's a street race in the streets of Long Beach, California. It's right on the water. It's an incredible street race that brings out 180,000 people over the weekend there. So, but again, it's something that maybe not everyone in the United States knows about. We have every single race this year on Network, Fox. Watch all of them. You know what I mean? Because all of us that compete in that single largest attended sporting event in the world at the Indy 500 are doing it 16 more times across the country, in Canada as well, in Toronto. And so that's what we have to do. You know what I mean? We have to make it known that we are doing that and make it so that every weekend it's can't miss TV.
And so you, as a driver for Juncos, how much are you thinking about the business of it? And like
every day.
Every day. Like, I don't think people realize that. So you think, okay, all you need to do is go out and focus on not dying and racing this car really fast. But you're also focused on how to make a business and how this thing is going to stay solvable so you can continue to race.
The goal is, again, to be the best racing driver that you can be. And again, a lot of people will debate you on where your focus needs to be. And I will completely agree that you got to be focused on producing results. That, at the end of the day, is the most important thing to keep you around and to be in the sport. But to also generate business for this sport, you got to be an entity that people want to follow. You got to be an entity that people want to support. You got to be an entity that that people want to buy stuff around, right? You got to be an entity that people want to support with merchandise. You got to be someone that you have to be supported by companies, by all kinds of things, and that takes effort too. So you got to do it all to stay around.
Who do you think within the IndyCar series is doing a really good job? Like, you think of NIL, name, image, likeness, money coming in from having, social media following and doing appearances and stuff. Who's crushing it on that side?
Pato O'Ward's the best, right?
Really?
Pato O'Ward is the best at the overall business, the overall entity of being a supported driver. He's a driver from Mexico. Sports fans in Mexico, the race fans in Mexico, get behind their guys or girls, right? So they get behind it, and that's huge. And he plays into that hard. He's got billboards in Speedway, Indiana, that say patowho.com. That's Pato O'Ward. Like, that guy is buying billboards for himself, which is a crazy thing to do, but it's awesome. He's got the highest selling merchandise. He's got incredible things going on for himself. He wins races. He hasn't won the Indy 500 yet. Will he? Yes. Those are guys that I have to beat, right? Those are guys that you have to go out and beat on a daily basis.
Dude, heartbreak, right?
Yeah, like, it's hard to do that, but it's also, I was on the podium with Pato O'Ward, right, in Milwaukee, and he won that race, and he was the guy that you have to fight against, right? So that's cool. Like, but that's who we're up against. So Pato, I think, is the best. I think Joseph Newgarden is one of the best. Obviously, 2-time Indy 500 champion, multiple-time Indy 500 champion. But he is also someone that is in a Fox commercial right now that is looking like the coolest person on the planet, right? An elite athlete. He looks cool. He goes out and wins races, smoking hot wife, you know what I mean? Cool family, like, great things. He's got a son that's probably going to be the most incredible person in the world because he is an athlete and his wife is smart. Everyone's smart. So you got to be the best you can be. You got to create that. You got to make it look cool. And that's what IndyCar is doing. That's what Fox is trying to do with IndyCar. So again, you got to fight against all those people. You got to create it for yourself. You got to continue to make people watch what we are doing, because I think what we are doing is crazy and cool and fun and awesome.
And like, knowing the guy or gal, the driver that's in the seat, and knowing who they are outside of that is I mean, that's part of it, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you want
for
to be
sure.
someone that people support.
Yeah.
And you being, you said the only driver from Indiana, kind of
Yeah.
like the home state guy.
Yeah.
I think you are someone that the state can get behind and support.
I would love that.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
that happen.
No, and I am supported too. Like I love the fact that I am from Indiana for sure, like you mentioned, and I love the support that I get. And man, it's so cool to be able to compete for fans and to compete for the support that people want to give out there. So I am thankful and I am so happy to be in this game. And it is hard, like I've mentioned, but it's so cool to feel that, and I love being a part of it.
When you walk around Indiana, is it just like people know, oh, that's Conor, and like you're pretty well known?
I think so, yeah, and
I would say so.
And it means a lot, right? Like I love being that guy. Like I love being from this place. I love being a Colts fan, a Pacers fan. You know what I mean? I love being a sports guy that is in this state. It is something that if I win the Indy 500, when I win the Indy 500, which is the plan, we want to do that. We want to do that for the people that support us, which is really cool.
Do you feel pressure from that? Like being the hometown guy, the Indiana guy, racing the biggest sporting event in the world in your home state where you grew up at? Like, I feel like that'd have to be like add some pressure to the shoulders, like you want to put on for the state.
Is there pressure? Yeah, of course. I mean, I love it, but it's also something that I think that's what you do, right? You show up to be under pressure. You show up to be the best that you can be, and it is cool to feel that, right? At the end of the day, if you do the best that you can do every single day, to be the best that you can be, you just hope that is worth supporting, right? And I love that, and I'm excited to wake up every day to be the best athlete that I can be, and I love to hopefully continue to create a positive and exciting experience for folks that enjoy the IndyCar Racing Series and folks who enjoy racing in general. And we want to let people know that if you support IndyCar racing, that is awesome. And if you support the Indy 500, that's awesome. But we also hope that you support the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. We also hope that you support every other race in the season because it's cool to be an IndyCar fan.
Yeah, and I think that Indiana does a really, really good job of balling out for the Indy 500,
for sure.
Right? It's like tons of companies have suites and they're this and they're that and they're going there on Carb Day and this. And I think that we kind of can get into the mindset of like, oh, I support Conor because I go to the race, or I support Conor because I go, which is true. But there's other ways, and you think back to the business of this, like the only reason you get to race is because you're on a team, the team has sponsors. And what are ways that you see Indiana businesses what ways do you see Indiana business getting plugged in more on the team side? And what are opportunities if there's a business leader out there that maybe they've done the suite thing before and maybe they will continue to do that, but they want to invest even more into the business of IndyCar?
We have supporters on our team. I don't know when this gets released, but like we are going to have sponsors, right? The Mankind Corporation, which might be a supporter of mine, which is a supporter of mine, which I have type 1 diabetes. So if you have a company, a group that creates, an opportunity to support a type 1 diabetic athlete, then go check them out too.
The returning champion of the Indy 500, what's the title sponsorship dollar amount roughly on their car versus like brand new rookie to the field, like car 33?
Like an overall budget, if you want to talk about it, right? So to be a part of an IndyCar Series sponsor, right? You would love to be able to raise like $1.5 million for the Indy 500, right?
For one race.
For one race, right? Like the Indy 500 costs essentially $1.5 million to be a part of. For sure.
For you
without
to get
a
car
doubt to be on the car. Yeah, you got to do that.
What does it cost
could
for you guys to
also
run
be
it?
more than that, right? Like we want to sell the sponsorship for Indy 500 at $2.5 million because I think it is worth that, right? We can see it. It costs money to do this, right? Tires, engines, people. Yeah, it's hard to be a part of it. It costs money to be a part of it, and those are the numbers behind it at times. Is it $10 million to be a part of this sport for the full season? Absolutely, it is $10 million to be a part of it.
Well, and like I think that what they don't think of is how much it costs to run a car.
Yeah.
Like if I was just Jeff Bezos and I wanted to say I want the Jeff Bezos racing team or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're forking
Amazon,
up a lot of money to just like run a car.
Yeah.
Like it's hundreds of thousands, if not like
Millions
I don't
of
know,
dollars,
like,
yeah.
Because there are teams and cars that just race the Indy 500.
For sure, yeah.
Right. And I don't know off the top of my head, but I know
the
that
Dry
like,
Ryan Bowl racing team, which is the team that I drove for last year. Great group of people. Yep. And they want to do that at $2 million per car, right? They want to do that at $3 million per car because it is important to do that. You got to go out there and do it, right?
Wow.
It's awesome.
It's
Worth that though. I think so. And you have to make it worth that.
Yeah, and it's all about how you leverage it, right?
Yeah.
Like someone, like a big brand, like a Pennzoil or whatever, it's like, okay, maybe they're definitely getting their value out of it.
They're spending a ton of money. Look at them. And they love
sure.
it, right? It's worth it to them. Pennzoil and the people that focus on winning and being a part of a great team, guess what? They won the 500. So that's cool. And it's worth it for them.
Right. And it's like and then all the digital assets and all the this, that.
Yeah.
And I think some people, it's like, oh, they just slap my logo on the car. Like, what?
And it's not
like,
just that.
There's so much with it. Is there a world where there's an all electric IndyCar?
I don't like it personally.
There we go.
I think that there is an incredible support for our technology and electric racing. I still think that there is so much that we can do with the internal combustion engine and electric motorsport, right? So and technology, but I don't know what the best part is. But for me personally, I love fast, loud cars, right?
Like hearing the rumble,
love
it would just not be the same if it was just like the Tesla IndyCar goes by.
Yeah,
and
I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm into it.
Okay, one more question on that topic. Yeah. When do you think an autonomous IndyCar will beat a human being?
I don't think it ever will happen. I hope it doesn't. Yeah, because you'd eliminate a lot of jobs, right? And I don't think people would enjoy it. I really don't.
No,
I think it's
cool.
cool.
Wants to watch it's cool, but no one wants to watch an algorithm race another algorithm.
No, absolutely not. Who wants to support people? People.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you watch the Indy 500? To see a driver be better than other drivers.
Yeah.
So guess what? You have to be the best driver. You're not going to be the best thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
So it's cool to be a car, but it's also cool to support the emotional aspect of the driver who is weeping because they won, and it is awesome.
If I had to guess, we're going to give this to Netflix for free. Netflix, here's your idea. I think they're going to get, within the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, you're going to get the best, smartest people to put together an autonomous car. And we're going to see it on Netflix, best driver in the world versus smartest people in the world, like man versus machine. I don't know if it's like 100 laps or whatever it is, And I could see us like turning on Netflix and watching this one-on-one.
Maybe, yeah,
like,
maybe.
That would be like the Jake Paul boxing match, right? Like that's Netflix original presents that. You can have that idea for free. Just like get in a check when you get there. Man, this has been so fun. I've loved learning more about the business behind and how you got into IndyCar and just like the process. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around it.
For sure.
I think you did a good job of clearing a lot of that up and knowing how we can support other than just showing up and having a good time in turn 3.
Buying
also
merch and buying beer. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it's awesome to be part of this game.
Well, I have some fun segments here at the end. Kind of our lightning round and our younger years segment. I'd love to get into those.
Sure.
So the first one is brought to you by our friends at Orr Fellowship. They're a great organization here in Indiana helping develop young business leaders across the state. So Connor, what advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
Always enjoy what you do, right? Always enjoy those that support you, right? Always try to never burn bridges, right? So it's important to never upset a group of people that have been behind you, right? Just create something cool, create a connection, and never burn bridges. I would say that. Just don't burn bridges. Enjoy, you just try to make people enjoy supporting you and don't burn it away.
What's your favorite tradition around the Indy 500?
Well, when I went to the race, as a fan, I loved just supporting my favorite driver, right? So if I wake up and I love, say, hey, when I was growing up, I loved Dan Weldon, right? I loved Sam Hornish Jr. I loved all these young people that were involved. Support your favorite person.
That's good advice. What drivers throughout have inspired you the most?
Dan Weldon was one of my favorites. RP, Dan Weldon, we love him. Thomas Scheckter, I love Gilles de Ferran. I loved Tony Kanaan, was one of my favorites. And I also got to race with him, which is sweet.
Isn't that crazy?
Awesome.
Like you stay around long enough and you get to race your heroes.
Yeah, that was my fun.
Isn't that cool?
That's awesome. That's my favorite thing to do.
What's your pre-race ritual?
I don't have a ritual. I don't think it's cool to overthink, right? But I love waking up and seeing that it is race day, right?
Your dad raced an F1 and IndyCar. What was the best advice you ever got from him?
It is difficult, right? So he said every day you got to be the best.
What are the most historic racetracks besides the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Indiana?
Well, I love the Newcastle Motorsport Park, right? We have a great go-kart track out there, which is sweet. The Whiteland Raceway Park, right? And it's cool. Kokomo, right? There's a lot of incredible dirt racing experiences here. There's a lot of great places here where you can go racing. So
I was just down at the Salem Speedway. The High Banks. Dude, that's a wild place. Super, super cool. All right. What's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
I think people from Indiana are super nice. Indiana hospitality, I think, is important. We have so many conventions, right? We have incredible sports here, right? Yeah. We have so many things. We have a professional volleyball team now, right?
The Ignite.
Cool. Yeah, the Ignite. So that's awesome.
Dude, and
that's awesome. Great sports in Indiana.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible.
They're hosting the Professional Volleyball League All-Star Game at the Fishers Event Center.
I love that.
The best volleyball players in the country coming here.
I love Indiana, and I love sport, right? It's awesome.
We're going to get one more dive into a piece of Indiana that you love. You get to share a spot or a thing that people need to go check out. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
Shoot, I just had Hot Boys Chicken, right, in Indiana. That was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, the one up in Carmel?
Yeah, there's one in Carmel. There's one downtown in Fountain Square.
Yeah.
They were awesome. Hot Boys Chicken, sweet. It was awesome.
I don't know. I'm gonna hate on it's like Dave's Hot Chicken is good. It's not bad, but Hot Boys is crazy good.
Yeah, it was awesome. So one of my favorite places in the world is King Dough. I love pizza. King Dough, I love them. They're
it's like
sweet.
That bougie fancy pizza too.
No, so good. Dude, yeah,
unreal.
They were awesome. Livery is my favorite restaurant. I love Livery.
The Chicharrones.
Chicharrones.
Dude, those things go crazy.
Love Livery. I love Coach's. That's my favorite bar.
Coach's Tavern.
Yeah, Coach's Tavern.
That's a good little spot.
Great people.
I was at Coach's Tavern remember we hosted the national championship for football?
Yeah.
I was there, and I think a bunch of Georgia fans were in there. It was rowdy, dude. It was a good time.
So those are good spots, man.
I love it, dude. It's been great to get to know you and your story and your journey. It's incredible. I do have one final thing I have to show. So one of my good friends from back home in northern Indiana, huge IndyCar fan.
Nice.
And he just sent me a picture of you and him. In 21, he made a model of your Indy 500 car since they didn't produce it.
Oh, yeah.
And he, so I don't know if you know, this is Taylor Solmos. And
wow, yeah, nice.
He was like, dude, I made a model and gave it to him. And he had nothing but great things to say about you from when he met you back then. And he was super pumped. So Sully, I had to give you the shout out on the pod.
Love that. Yeah, thank you.
Dude, keep up the great work. In the month of May, right, in Indianapolis, everyone's all about IndyCar. I think we can do a great job of supporting from down in St. Petersburg to Long Beach and all the different, there's 17 races in the series?
Absolutely. 17 races. Come out, check it out, right?
I now have my new official, not that he wasn't already, but my official, this is my public statement, my favorite IndyCar driver. I'm going to be supporting him all season long. The hometown hero. If you're an Indiana guy, gal, Indiana, anyone, you need to be behind Conor and the team at Juncos. They're doing great stuff.
All I ask is just watch one other race, right? Or two, right? So if you say, hey, I love the Indy 500, go watch another one, right? Go watch Detroit. Go watch Iowa. Oh, shoot. Go watch Road America. Go watch Laguna Seca. I don't know. Who cares? Just watch one or two other races. That's what we would love you to do.
Do that. You do that, and then we're going to watch Conor win the Indy 500.
Yeah, that too.
Amen. Appreciate you coming on, man, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all of my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.